Okay, here we go with the review. On the first one, we're going to use Pythagorean theorem to find this side. I'm going to let this be b, so I'm going to go 10 squared is equal to a squared plus squared, that'd be 100 equals a squared plus 64. Subtract 64. And let's see, that gives you 36 is a squared, and then you have to take the square root, so that means a is 6 for number 1. Number 2, they want to know FH. So once again, I'm using Pythagorean theorem, so these will be my A and my B side. So I'm going to do 4 squared plus 7 squared equals C squared. That'll be 16 plus 49, which is how much? Oops, 16 plus is 65, so I would take the square root of that. In here, we actually do the decimal. Would be 8.1 is your answer there. On B, I took the triangles. I took this medium triangle and placed 15 by 8 by 7 because this is the right angle. And then the bottom triangle, I just flipped it around, having the shortest leg is A, the hypotenuse is B, and then the long leg is 8. And then I create a proportion. I notice that 15 and 8 are the long legs, so I'm going to start out there. So 15 and 8, I'm going to do 8 with A. And cross multiply, I get 64 equals 15A. I'm going to divide by 15 and get my A. 4.3. I'm going to start out with the same 15 over 8, and this time do 17 and B. I'm going to cross multiply. That gives me 136 is equal to 15 B's. I'm going to divide by 15, and that gives me B is equal to 9.1. There's my A's and my B's. On number 4, I'm asked to find the X on the bottom. From here, this is labeled the opposite. Here's the adjacent. So that means of the SOHCAHTOAs. Opposite and adjacent is the tangent. So we're going to do the tangent of 50 is equal to 18 over X. Since this is on bottom, across multiply, that means these guys flip. So I'm actually going to do the tangent of 50. Oops. 18 divided by the tangent of 50. Make sure your calculator is in degrees. And that gives you 15.1 feet for your X value. Okay. If I go to number 5, here they want to know that angles, so that means I'm still using my trig ratios. Sine, cosine, tangent. From the X, this is the opposite side. Across from the right angle is the hypotenuse. That means I'm using the sine ratio, but this is the inverse, the -1, because it's the angle I'm looking for, so I'm going to do 5 over 15. To get the inverse, remember in your calculator, I have to use the second and sine. That gives you the -1. 5 divided by 15. That gives me about 19 degrees. On 6, we want to know what FJH is. FJH is right here. Remember that these two angles here are going to be supplementary. So I'm going to do 108 minus 68. That means this is 112 degrees. FJ is this side, which will be congruent to GH, so that means this is 19. And GFJ is up here, is going to be congruent to its opposite, so that means it is 68 degrees. And FG is up here on top, which will be congruent to the bottom. Okay, number 7. X is an alternate interior to my 31, so that means X is equal to 31 degrees. To find Y, I'm going to take 31 plus 108, add it up, and then I want to subtract it from 180 because I know all the angles of a triangle add to 180. Okay, so that means Y is 41 degrees. And then to find Z, Z is opposite, so that means it is equal and it'd be 108. Number 8, I want to do the circumference, which is 2 pi r. Here they tell me my radius is 5, so I'm going to do 2 pi on 5. They also tell me to use 3.14. So on my calculator, I'm going to do 2 times 3.14 times 5. And that gives me 31.4 meters. Alright, number 9. They tell me that from C all the way around to B is 300. That means this little piece here is 60. And they want to know this angle, which is an inscribed angle. So if I go all the way across my circle, that means I have to divide by 2. So 60 divided by 2 is 30. Okay. On 10, here's the inscribed angle is 62, and they want to know this arc. So I'm going from the angle to the arc. That means I'm getting bigger, so I have to multiply by 2. So do 62 times 2. That means it is 124 degrees. On 11, they tell you that AB is 20 and CD is 62. And these segments are intersecting inside. That means the formula I'm looking at is AD plus, AB plus DC divided by 2 will equal the X. So I'm going to take 20 plus 62 and divide by 2. Gives me 41. On 12, this is angle 1 is an inscribed angle, even though it's on the side. So I'm going to take the 140 and divide by 2. That means 1 is 70 degrees. On number 13, they want you to write the equation. Here the lines are intersecting inside, so that means I'm going to take the 36, add the x, divide it by 2, and this time I know it's going to equal 65. So there's the first answer of the equation. Then they want you to solve it. I'm going to put that over 1, cross multiplying. It gives me 130 is equal to 36 plus x. I'm going to subtract 36. That gives me x is equal to 94, and that would be my answer. On 14, they want to know this angle. These intersect outside, so that means I need to find this arc. And rolls all the way around is 360, so I'm going to take 360, subtract 236. That means this arc here is 124. To find this angle, I'm going to take my two arcs now, subtract them, and divide by 2. Because these intersect outside, I have to subtract. And that will be my angle 1. Be 56 degrees. Alright, on 15, they want to find the length. Length means I'm dealing with circumference. And it also means I'm dealing with a proportion. They're looking for that arc measure. So I'm going to take the degrees for that arc measure and put it out the total of a circle. And then I need the circumference formula here. And then that becomes my x. So I need to cross multiply. Gives me basically 5,200. And then I want to divide by 360. Okay, that gives me 14.4 units, I guess, for my arc length. Okay, on 16, we have a apothem of 2, and we want to find the area. That means I'm using AP divided by 2. So I need to find the perimeter. So I'm going to take this value and multiply it times 6 to find my perimeter. Okay, that gives me 13.856 and on. That's my perimeter. We'll multiply it by 2 because that's my apothem, and then divide by 2. And that means the area is right back where I was, 13.9 for my area. That would just be units. Alright, 17. It says find the surface area. This is a prism, so that would be 2b plus ph for my formula. B is the area of the base. This base will be bh divided by 2. So that means I'm going to take 60 times 50 and divide by 2. And so this area is 1500. Okay. I have the B now, so that's going to be a 2 times 1500 for my formula there. Now I need to find the perimeter. To find the perimeter, I know this part is 50, but I need to know this edge as well as that edge. That means I need to cut this in half so that I have 25, and this being 60, I can use Pythagorean theorem. That'll be my C side. So 60 squared plus 25 squared. Take the square root of my answer. Whoops. And this side is 65. That means the other side is also 65. So the perimeter will be 65 plus 65 plus 50. And that gives me 180. Now the formula calls for the height. The height on this one is between the bases, so that means it is 49. And now I'm ready to put that in my calculator. It gives me an answer of 11,880 meters squared. Okay. On 18, it says find the surface area of the cylinder. So on this one, this is 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. So if I take my numbers and plug them in, that'll be 2, and it does tell me to do 3.14 there. The r is 6 squared plus 2 times 3.14 times 6 times 10.3. I'm going to put that all in my calculator. And then they want the nearest square unit, so that would be 614 meters squared. Volume of a sphere, the formula is 4 pi r cubed divided by 3. So here's my diameter. I'm going to divide that by 2 to get the radius. Let's see, 4.7. So I'm going to plug that into my formula. And get my answer. So it'll be 434.9 feet cubed for your answer. On 20, they want to find the perimeter and the area. So I have two answers here. On the perimeter, all I have is the apothem. So if I draw a line over to the side, I need to find this angle. And to find that angle, I'm going to do 360 divided by the number of sides, which will be 5. That gives me 72. Now that gives me this entire angle. If I was to draw that line over, give me all the way. I want half. So I'm going to divide by 2. That means this little angle here is 36 degrees. Now I need that so I can find this bottom side. This is the opposite. This side is my adjacent. So using trig, I'm going to do the tangent of 36 equals x over 12. Cross multiply. Tells me that this little piece here is 8.7185 on. I need to double it, so I'm going to multiply that by 2 to get my side. That gives me 17.437 and on. And then to get the perimeter, I'm going to multiply this number by 5. And that means the perimeter is 87.2, basically. Now for the area, I'm going to do AP divided by 2. So I'm going to take that answer and multiply it times the apothemous 12. And then I'm going to divide that answer by 2 and get 0.1. And that would be units, and this would be units squared. On 21, we're going to use the formula of 180 n minus 2 divided by n to find each angle. The n is going to be the 5, so I'm going to plug in a 5 for the n on both of those slots. And that gives me 108. On 22, we're going to start out with the same formula, but this time they tell you the interior angle, so this one kind of changed a little bit because I'm going to put the n in that position. Not dividing by n, but over on the interior angle side. I'm going to distribute this in and get 180 n minus 360. I'm going to subtract the 180 n. That gives me negative 360 is equal to negative 20 n. I'm going to divide by negative 20. And that gives me n equals 18. So that is an 18-sided polygon. On 23 and 24, they have exterior angles, and all exterior angles add to 360. That's very important to know. So I'm going to take each one of these and add them up. So on the first one I have a 1x and another 1x, that's 2 x's. There's 3, 4, 5, 6 x's. And then I have 35 plus 15. That gives me 50 minus 20. Gives me 30 plus nothing. And then this one is a 90. So I need to add 90. And that will give me 120 for that slot. Now I said these all equal 360. If I subtract 120, it gives you 6x equals 240. Divide by 6 and it tells me x is 40. Now they want to know all the angles, so I got to take 40 and now plug them back in. So on the first one I'm going to do 2 times 40, that means this one is 80 degrees. 40 plus 15 is 55 degrees. 2 times 40 is 80, and 80 minus 20 is 60 degrees. And then over here, 40 plus 35 is now 75 degrees. Okay. Same thing going on in 24. So I'm going to take 3 plus 2. Now, oh, this one distributes, so that's actually 4x minus 20. So be tricky with that one. So 3 plus 2 is 5, plus 4 more is 9, plus 1 gives you 10 x's. There's nothing. This one has a negative 20 plus 100. That is 80. I'm going to subtract 80. Gives you 10x is equal to 280. I'm going to divide by 10, and x is 28. Let's take it, plug it back in. I need to know 3 times 28 means this little angle here is 48 degrees. 2 times 28, that angle is 56 degrees. Up here, I'm going to do 4 times 28 minus 20. Oops. It tells me this top angle is 92 degrees, and then this last one would be 128 degrees. Alright, 25, they want to know what the two values of x and y are in a parallelogram. X and 110 are opposite, therefore they're equal. And x and y, or the 110 and y, are supplementary. So that means I'm going to take 180 and subtract 110 and end up with y being 70 degrees. 26, what's the measure of exterior angle? Well, exterior, remember they all add to 360. I have 30 sides, so that means I'm just dividing, and that means each one is 12 degrees. 27. If the ratio of the perimeters of the two rectangles is 3 to 5, then the ratio of their areas is sometimes, always, or never 9 to 25. On this one is going to be a sometimes. And the reason is you're dealing with the perimeters, and the perimeters, the size doesn't necessarily mean that they're all proportional. So this is a sometimes situation. Now if this said sides here, the ratio of the sides of the rectangle were 3 to 5, then this would be an always. But it's that word right there, it kind of is iffy on the sides. 28. The Euler's theorem was F plus V equals E plus 2. So I'm going to take 32 plus my V's equals 90 plus 2. It's going to be 32 plus V equals 92. I'm going to subtract 32. And that gives me 60 V's. On 29, this parallelogram is inside, or quadrilateral, is inside a circle. And with that one, the opposites here will be supplementary. They are no longer equal. So opposites will supplementary. I'm going to take 180 minus 60. Means angle 1 is 140 degrees. Go in the other direction. 180 minus 105. Means angle 2 is 75 degrees. And the last one, number 30, sorry. Finding the area, so this is another proportion because it's still inside a circle. And area means I need my area formula. I need the 360 in the area formula in this slot, so that's going to be pi times 16 squared, and I'm looking for the area. And this number is not going to be the 115 because the 115 is not the shaded area. I need the degrees of the shaded area. So I'm going to take 360 and subtract 115 and get 245. That goes in that top slot. So now I'm going to cross multiply and divide by 360. Gives me a huge number, 197,040.6912. Divide that by 360. 547.3 would be the area inches squared for that problem.